Okay. So the bait is what the bad guys will throw out into the sea of users and give them credible or legitimate looking emails or text messages or advertisements. What they're doing is they're luring their targets to take the bite. The bite is where the user would put in their personal information, so things like passwords, usernames, account numbers, etc. And this is a bad thing for obvious reasons. Number one, you're getting scammed. The fact that you're getting this email or text message or whatever it may be in the first place is not a good sign. This actually happens more often than you would think, so it's a very big issue. Number two, if you fall victim to whatever link they send you or whatever notification they have for you, then that is where you have taken the bait and where you may have to pay the consequences. There are many different types of phishing. Standard email phishing, spear phishing, smishing, vishing, and at this point you may be thinking to yourself, she's just throwing out random words that rhyme with phishing. That is true, but these are real attacks that happen to people every single day. It might happen to you the other day. Maybe you got a text message from a random phone number saying that you won $1,000,000, and all you have to do is enter your credit card information or something like that. The main thing to note about all of these is the bait and the bite. Whoever the bad guy is, they're trying to get you to click on something and enter your information so they can exploit it or do whatever you want with it. I'm going to show y'all an example of the more well-known type of phishing, which is standard email phishing. So this email was sent to a PayPal user, and it's from who seems to be PayPal itself. We're going to dissect this email into two things: the yummy bait, so why this would convince someone in the first place, and the stinky bait, why you should stay away from emails like these. First is the yummy bait. If you notice in the subject area, it says your account has been limited. Why this is yummy bait is because it gets you to click on the email. Since the subject is one of the first things you see in your inbox, having that as a subject gives a sense of urgency. You're going to be like, whoa, what is this? I'm going to click on it because I want to see what's going on. So that's the first thing. There's one more yummy bait that I'm going to point out, but before I change the slide, do you guys have any guesses on what that bait could be? You can either unmute or type it in the chat. No guesses? The link? Kind of the link. The domain. Yes. Oh wait, no. What would be something that the user? What would convince them to click the email, or what would convince them to click the login button? Like on first glance, what would that be? Or what do you guys think that would be? Because the domain is something that we're going to talk about later, but that's the stinky bait. Here's a hint. Yeah. Okay, so I think most of you guys got it. So it's whoever sent this message, they made a pretty spot on logo, and they have like a lot of attention to they put a lot of attention to detail on the color scheme. So from afar, it looks like a legitimate PayPal notification email. This would usually be where users would click on the login. But if we were the ones who got this email, if you guys were the ones who got this, we wouldn't click this blue login button, right? Because there's one other thing that we have to look at, and that is stinky bait. So the first one I'm going to talk about is looking at who sent the email. I think some of you guys mentioned it earlier. You can see that it's from PayPal from right here. But if you take a look at the email address, you're going to be like, what the heck is noticeaccess273.com? That's a weird domain name, and that doesn't look like it belongs to PayPal. For example, let's say someone sent you an email and their address and domain name was boeingcompany@gmail.com. Boeing, Boeing's not going to have Gmail as their domain. Like, they have their own domain, so that's something you have to look out for. Another thing to note is that this may not always be stinky bait. If the bad guy is really good, they'll make it so that the domain names match up. And this ties into another concept, which is called spoofing. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but spoofing is basically where you impersonate someone or a company and you're giving yourself false credentials. So let's say you wanted to play a prank on your friend. You can pretend to send an email as one of their teachers, and your friend sees that email and sees that it's from like teacher@hbuhsd.edu, and you're telling your friend that the teacher's going to fail them or something. This is an example of spoofing. But yeah, always look at who sent you the email. So the following stinky bait will cover the content of the email itself. The first thing that you should always look at is who the email is addressing. This email says "Dear Customer," but it's not addressed to a name. It doesn't say, for example, "Dear Chester." If it's something as important as this account issue seems, they would address you by your name or address you by whatever your account name is under. So at this point, it looks like, oh, this must be an email that was sent to multiple people because it's so general, and it's much easier to send the same email over and over again than it is to like spearfish and address by name. So there is one last stinky bait somewhere here that we're going to cover, and it also relates to the email content. Does anyone have an idea? Yes. Yes. Michelle, you are so right. The grammar. So this email has a couple grammatical errors, and all in all, it's poorly written. It's not something that the company would send out themselves. So with that said, oh yeah, it also says forwarded message. Yes, that's true. With that said, don't bite. Even if it looks like something you should do right away because of the urgent subject, or because at first glance it looks like a legit email, if you look at it even closer, like we just did, you'll see all the issues and all the telltale signs that you should not click anything within the email. For PayPal specifically, I know that you can forward all phishing emails to their actual email, so like spoof@paypal.com, and this notifies their security team on what's going on. And this is just PayPal. So there are other companies that would have similar security measures like these to prevent the same thing happening to more people. So realize that this is just one a fake PayPal email, which is just one example of standard email phishing, which is just one example of phishing attack, and which is one of even more cyber attacks. There's always going to be somewhere out there who wants to profit off of the ones and zeros that surround your life. Everything you do online, they want to know. All the private and personal information you have, they want to have for themselves for whatever reason it may be. It may not happen to us every day, but it happens to someone every day. It happens to someone somewhere in the world every few seconds. And I don't know about you, but that's pretty scary. And it's also sad too, because we may not even realize that we've been hacked or that our information has been compromised until after the fact, and by then it might be too late. That's just something to think about. Cybersecurity is a vast field, and there are so many issues and vulnerability exploits to take into account, and phishing is just one of them. Anyways, that is the end of this CS concept. Does anyone have any questions? The Nigerian prince. Oh no. Questions? No questions? Wow. Thank you. No. Okay. All right. So that that is the end of this very short meeting. We hope you enjoyed this CS concept and that you learned something. Have I been phished before? Probably. I don't know. Like, I get those texts where it tells me that I can sign up for yeah, yes. Very sad. Yeah, same. Like all right. All right, that's the end. Andy, do you have anything else to say?
Oh no, are you going to have a workshop next week when you?
I am.
Oh,
I'll be doing a workshop next week on more of these like cybersecurity based concepts. So stay tuned for that.
poggers.
Yeah.
Just gonna show you guys how to hack into the Pentagon
No, that
and
is
then be a
illegal.
bug catcher for Fang and then get hired.
Mhm. Okay. That's the end of our meeting. So you guys can head on over to the merits one.
Yeah, let's go harass Colin and David. I'll see you guys there. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye guys. Thanks for coming.